It is not enough to simply have power. One must display it. This wedding does not merely represent the union of two mighty houses. It's a show of power. Our court is a grand stage, a tribute to our might. Now the scene is set. Every player a pawn in this grandest of schemes. For when this day is over, our enemies shall taste their bitter defeat. Our revenge complete, and no one will ever underestimate our bloodline again. You see, real strategy requires cunning.
Well, there you have it, folks. I'm Realm Builder Guy, and welcome back to the channel. Crusader Kings 3 and Paradox Interactive announced the first major DLC and expansion for CK3 at PDXCon, and it is called The Royal Court. Now, prior to me recording this today on May 25th, the Royal Court info was kind of spread out on the forums as well as the Steam page and so on. And I was, putting all the notes together and figuring out all the information. And then I saw there's a new dev diary number 61, as you see here, which details everything about the Royal Court as we know it so far and puts it all into one spot. And I figured, hey, instead of spending hours putting together all the information from different sources, let's just go with this one, and I will review the dev diary here. We will walk through it and then discuss what it all means. As always, if you enjoy these dev diary updates and kind of news updates about different Paradox titles, don't forget to hit that like button. And if you are new and you haven't subscribed yet, consider subscribing so you don't miss out on any CK3, Victoria 3, any other 3 strategy game type news, playthroughs, or whatever else here on the channel in the future. All right, so now let's dive into this bad boy. So this is work in progress. Welcome to the first dev diary for the Royal Court expansion. As we mentioned in a previous dev diary, we'll go back to Azure Patch dev diaries for a few weeks after this one. But do not fear, there will be some more Royal Court DDs before the summer holidays. And when we're back from holidays, we'll have many, many Royal Court diaries for you. It's really hard to pick a topic for where to start, but we decided upon a dive into the namesake feature for the expansion, the Royal Court itself, your seat of royal majesty and power. Okay, the Royal Court consists of many features, all collected within a 3D scene that we call the Throne Room. Here's an early work-in-progress screenshot of the Throne Room. Do note that it's very early version, but we can't wait to show you what we've been working on. So what it looks like, you'll have this with the different people in here that you can click on and interact with, is what I'm assuming. Now, there are many things that go into the Royal Court itself. It interacts with numerous new features that'll come with the expansion. We won't go into detail on all of them today. If we did this DD would become much too long. All right, it's worth noting that this isn't just a graphical feature. While we admit the importance of immersion, we don't want any features to feel tacked on or superfluous. The Throne Room is there to show what's happening, what artifacts you've collected, so that's a big topic right there, which courtiers are having a fight. That's, if they can visualize where the interactions and problems are, that does make it interesting. This allows us to place your character in a scene together with others, showing that you're actually present in the same world. It's a nice little bit of immersion there. We're trying to bridge the gap between your character and the map, all while representing a side of medieval history we've never previously explored in detail. Importance for a ruler to show their power, their grandeur to their subjects and peers. Every feudal clan, king, and emperor has a royal court, so that's important. If you are count or duke level, then you will not have this feature. You have to be king or emperor. Tribal rulers do not have one. So no matter what your level is as tribal ruler, you don't have this. As this feature primarily models the formality and ceremony surrounding the court, as well as the need for spending gold, while tribal rulers use prestige as their main resource. A ruler is demoted to a lower rank through war, election, or just sheer bad luck. The royal court and everything therein will either stay dominant until you regain your lost status, or follow the character who now rules in your stead. So I do have a few thoughts on this right away. So tribal rulers, of course, this affects, say, Vikings. But given the Northern Lords flavor pack, the Vikings are pretty well fleshed out. Where does this hurt? It hurts the game a little bit when it comes to, say, you want to play the Mongols or any other tribe in Africa, Asia, or Eastern Europe that isn't Viking flavored. You'll want to go and become feudal as fast as possible just to give you all of these additional options. So it centers a lot of the flavor straight back into predominantly Europe. Maybe also some stuff in India as well as the Middle East, maybe North Africa. But it's definitely heavily centered around Europe. And again, it'll put a lot of flavor in 1066 versus 867, in my opinion. Now, obviously, you have feudal lords and clan lords in 867 as well. But it diminishes the attraction to non-Viking clans. That's just what I'm seeing, what I'm interpreting. So, yeah, interesting. Grandeur. This is a major concept that enables, it's called grandeur. A measurement of your standing in the eyes of your peers. While it's measured on a scale from 0 to 100, it's not necessarily a simple system. Increasing your grandeur will lead to direct political benefits such as increased opinions, marriage acceptance, etc. Will also unlock new council jobs, such as being able to peacefully demand de jure land with the convince de jure territory job, or gain knight effectiveness while also decreasing enemy scheme success chance with the manage royal guards job. Ooh, I like a royal guard. This right here. I'm digging this. These effects motivate you to aim for a high level of grandeur, but naturally comes at a monetary cost. How much are you willing to spend on artifacts, amenities, or on positions within your court? You have to balance your political needs with your temporal ones, such as warfare or development. Sacrificing your grandeur entirely will cause instabilities, both internal and external. Grandeur is not really a resource, and it is not actively spent, unlike something like prestige. It works on a much slower timescale and is something you must balance and work towards increasing over a long period of time. I really like this. I like the concept of grandeur. We're going to see here they go into more details. But the concept is nice because it helps you. You can't just steamroll and rush into becoming a very, very powerful king. It has to come over time. If you think of the grandeur of some of the courts historically, others kind of fell off while some really, really grew with time. All right, grandeur effects. As mentioned in the previous section, grandeur has several different effects and modifiers. All right, it is divided into 10 separate levels with their own effects. For example, the very first level of grandeur unlocks the ability to hold court. Very nice. So you can establish your court, which is a crucial component in achieving higher grandeur levels. Second level unlocks a council task called Bestow Royal Favor, which is a powerful single-target task that increases a vassal's opinion of you while granting them and you prestige. I really like this because I really could have used this in the Al-Andalus series that, of course, has ended. There were times where I really wanted to increase vassal opinion, but I was limited by what I could do. I mean, it really was down to, swaying over time or giving them a gift, and sometimes that just proved very ineffective. So this is another tool to do that. I like that. One of the most significant effects of grandeur is its effect on attraction of inspired characters. The higher your grandeur is compared to that of your neighbors, the likelier you are to have these creative travelers visit your court first, giving you an opportunity for patronage. More on inspirations. So that's a big one right here. Inspirations in a future D&D. I like that. If you're a court that people want to go to more than other ones, that helps you progress. I like that. Some of these levels will give courtiers who stay within it a flavorful trait, which will increase their skills and attributes based on the type of court they're staying at. A particular grandeur court might even see a more powerful trait appear, making such characters excellent for various jobs and court positions. So court positions will come in a later development diary. Several grandeur levels have effects and modifiers based on your court type of flavor perk for your court. Depending on your cultural ethos, you'll get access to a few different types, such as a diplomatic or warlike court. I like that. So that helps you. I think what this will do is, of course, if you don't want to just be war, you want to go diplomacy, maybe play a little bit more of a taller game in that aspect. This adds more to diplomacy, because diplomacy is, well, let's be honest, it's pretty much lacking in the game. There's very few things you can do. If you can steer your court more to diplomacy, hopefully that means you have more there. All royal courts have a type, and among other things, it affects the type of trait that courtiers get. Bonuses granted from these types are varied and aim to enhance a certain style of play. Very nice. The AI will tend to go for the court type most reflective of their cultural ethos. For example, Indian kings will often tend to want a scholarly court, since many Indian cultures have a spiritual ethos. I like that. It gives some historical context to the way the AI will adapt and act. Here's an example. Having diplomatic court type will grant you bonuses to vassalization, acceptance, tyranny gain, opinion, and potentially even unlock a personal scheme slot. A warlike court might instead see bonuses to men-at-arms, counter efficiency, knight efficiency, and the maximum size of men-at-arms regiment. Okay. How grandeur is gained. Grandeur is divided into two: baseline, direct gain. Baseline decides the trend, with you passively and slowly either gaining or losing grandeur over time until the baseline is met. Okay. The baseline is affected by many things: what court artifacts you have, what court positions you have filled, etc. So court artifacts will be in a future developer diary. The rate of grandeur change can be modified by many things, such as cultural ethoses and traditions. Okay. But as a rule of thumb, it is slow. The most simple way to increase your grandeur baseline is by investing in amenities. Amenities are simple and straightforward, but they're still central to the concept of having a grand court. 4 different types of amenities: lodgings, food, clothing, and servants. There are 4 levels to each, with each progressive level costing more gold to maintain, but giving more grandeur baseline. They all come with a selection of flavor effects. For example, spending on food will slightly increase the disease resistance of your courtiers. Higher levels might also cause them to gain weight. All right, very interesting. Worth noting is that the cost of amenities is relative to your size and income. A small realm won't have to pay as much as a prosperous one. Makes sense. Reaching your baseline might take a long time unless you decide to take action in order to speed it up. I mean, this is very similar to going on pilgrimage or Hajj or whatever. If you want to quickly get a big boost in piety, or calling a hunt if you want a prestige gain. So yeah, I mean, this basically follows the amenities. It seems follows that same mechanic on piety and prestige, quickly gaining by spending money to do so. So to gain Grandeur fast, you need to hold court. Performing this decision, so here you go, invites your vassals and subjects to bring their issues, requests, and questions before you. The mere act of holding court will give you a one-time boost to your grandeur, but the opportunities within the activity itself might give you opportunities to increase it further. So it looks like hold court will be in a later DD. Grandeur expectations. So grandeur isn't only about reaching the level that gives the effect you desire, it's also about managing expectations. Depending on a number of factors, such as your tier or the size of your realm, you will have certain expectation put upon your royal court. This expectation is a double-edged sword. If your grandeur is below expectations, you'll suffer increasing diplomatic penalties as people lose respect. While if it exceeds, you might see powerful diplomatic bonuses. So, yeah, it makes sense. I mean, if you think about it, if you are the king of France and your court's kind of, your grandeur is kind of derelict, they're going to look at you and go like, okay, you're not exactly that awesome. But if you are small, say you're playing a Spoleto, and you decide you're going to have a lot of grandeur that obviously gives you a lot of power to maybe then overthrow the king of Italy. All right, these are scaled based on how powerful you are. A rather small kingdom that undershoots its expectations will be hit particularly hard, while massive empires such as the HRE or Roman Empire, will be punished much harder if they fail to live up to expectations. The effects of not living up to your expectations are many: reduced prestige, renown, and a hefty hit to opinion with foreign rulers, courtiers, and vassals. Large realm might easily find itself facing significant unrest unless its ruler starts spending on grandeur. So what this basically means is the bigger your kingdom is, your realm, the harder it becomes to manage. There are already a lot of things in there that you have to deal with when it comes to managing your vassals and revolts and all that kind of stuff. This adds another level that you need to manage. So it's not simply a game of just blobbing and becoming big and then you OP crush everybody. You have so many different things you have to deal with now, the larger your realm becomes. Okay, court events. Now, the royal court isn't all about grandeur. Of course, another important role it holds is to show that there's life in your court. This is done through court events, happenings contained within the court taking place between those who live therein. This new type of event uses the throne room as its backdrop, transforming the entire throne room into an event when they happen. Unlike normal events, this type of event is non-interruptive. You get notified that something is happening, whereby you can go into your royal court, inspect the scene, find whoever is involved, and trigger the event yourself. Okay, very interactive. I like that. Usually these events are some sort of drama happening between your courtiers, which you can choose to simply ignore if you feel like you have more important matters to attend to, which oftentimes you do. I mean, it's nothing quite like this stuff firing when you're in the middle of a kind of massive war. And you're like, I've done it in playthroughs where I'm like, yeah, whatever, just go away. I've got this major event to deal with. This adds more to that, and that's very typical. This is very accurate and very human. These events come in many different flavors, mostly focusing on how it is to live in the court. Some examples of court events that are being worked on currently include courtiers causing you embarrassment through their drinking or poor manners, or getting into arguments with your architect. Others involve things like rumors spreading about your predecessor on the throne, or popular and unflattering songs about you spreading within the court itself. Court events might also be things like foreign ambassadors trying to uncover your secrets, or devout courtiers shaming you in your court for your frivolous living. Okay, now of course there's more that goes into the royal court, but we'll save going into details regarding court artifacts, the UI and graphical looks of the throne rooms, court positions, and so on for future dev diaries. Of course, this expansion isn't all about royal court. Before the summer break starts, you'll get to read about some of the other features coming with the expansion and patch. That's all for now. It looks really good. Grandeur, of course, is the main thing they're talking about here. But this is introducing you to the royal court. Now, there are also other key aspects that I want to quickly mention. Now, the other things that they talked about when they introduced it were cultures, hybrid cultures, and cultural divergence. So you can make the most of multicultural realm, developing a new way of life that is specifically adapted to your population and geography. And cultural divergence means split from your traditional culture, adapting it into something that better fits your aspirations. So culture is going to get a rather large overhaul, it seems, and a bit of a rework or expansion thereupon. So, those updates will be coming in future development diaries as well, I strongly expect. Now, a couple of things to note about. There is no release date yet set for this game or for this DLC. A lot of assumptions are late fall, maybe early winter, but before Christmas would be my assumption. I would consider the time frame of November to be very likely for this. So keep an eye out there. Once it's announced, I'll let you know. The other thing is the price tag. It is $29.99 for this large expansion. Now, there will be a free update patch that comes along with it, where you don't have to pay for it. If you bought the Royal Edition, it includes 2 flavor packs as well as the DLC. So that means Northern Lords flavor pack, a flavor pack yet to be announced, and Royal Court. So if you went and ponied up the money for the Royal Edition, this is already included. If you didn't and you want this, it will cost an extra $30. So that is something to keep in mind. We can discuss whether or not it's worth $30. Seems a lot, but overall, if you're getting a lot for it, then and you love playing Crusader Kings 3, it's worth it. In my opinion, probably we'll have to see. I mean, once it comes out, we get some game time in it, we'll quickly see how much if it's worth the $30 price tag or not. Let me know your thoughts on the comments, but let's keep it civil. And please keep your Paradox bashing to a minimum, or better said, just don't. Because that's not what this is about. This is about the Royal Court. Overall, I'm pretty pleased with what I'm seeing. It adds a lot of depth to it. Now, as you know, I'm very history-oriented. This adds a lot of things that are historically based as to how people interacted, so it adds a lot to that. Adds a lot to the role-play mechanics of the game, which is obviously critical, crucial, and central to it. As far as adding history to the game, it really doesn't do much there, except for maybe the culture part. But we'll have to wait and see what that is, as well as the court positions and stuff like that. I'm curious to see what the Azure patch does. I'm hoping that when it comes out adds a lot to tribes, especially Central Asia, and we look at the Mongols and stuff like that, maybe even Africa. So I'm curious about that. But let me know your thoughts on the Royal Court. Don't forget to hit like and subscribe. Also check out the links down in the description to the Discord, Twitter, Twitch, Patreon, as well as Nexus GG, where you can buy Crusader Kings 3 and support the channel. So until next time, I'm Realm Builder Guy, and I will talk to you soon.